Hey my friends, hope all is well. Today I'm going to show you how Project Mandala from the BIS, that's the central banks for all central banks, this Project Mandala is also using the XRP Ledger, but they try to hide it from you guys. But I'm here to help. I'm going to expose this. I'm going to show you that Project Mandala, which involves 4 central banks, is using the XRP Ledger for settlement, cross-border, and all that good stuff. But before we get started, please hit that like, smash it as hard as you can, and please subscribe if you haven't done already. I really appreciate it. It really helps the channel. So thanks again for dropping in. Let's get into it. Now, this project involves the Reserve Bank of Australia, Bank of Korea, Bank Negara Malaysia, and the Monetary Authority of Singapore. So 4 central banks here, right, guys? Big central banks. And again, this is only one of 43 projects that the BIS has that involves numerous central bank digital currency projects. Some projects are about AI and so on, but a lot of CBDC projects and cross-border involve the BIS. So this central banks are all central banks, like I said, literally control the world. It's a long story, but I won't get into that right now. And so let's look at this right here. So just so you know, guys, Project Mandala is kind of the successor of Project Dunbar. So I'm going to show that, which I just did a video on Project Dunbar showing that this is absolutely the XRP Ledger as well. So let's get into it. Project Mandala explores the feasibility of encoding jurisdiction-specific policy and regulatory requirements in a common protocol for cross-border use cases. So here they're saying common protocol. With Project Dunbar, they said a common platform. So it's always that shared ledger, unified ledger, common platform, cross-border common platform. It's always that team, right? That finternet. It's all the XRP Ledger. Now, XLM Stellar is going to do a lot of cross-border too, but it's mostly going to be peer-to-peer, my understanding. That main ledger for cross-border involving all the central banks, or about 95% of the central banks, is that XRP Ledger. It's the XRP Ledger that is the Internet of Value. It's the finternet. They call it the finternet now because instead of saying Internet of Value, everybody knows that is Ripple. They say finternet, financial internet. So Internet of Value, financial internet. So as I show in my previous videos, I'm going to show it again here later on. The regulated liability network, the regulated settlement network, the shared ledger, the unified ledger, and the finternet, and the regulated internet of value, because the regulated internet of value, the regulated liability network was first called the regulated internet of value, but they changed the name again. Because again, everybody knows that's Ripple. Internet of Value is Ripple. But all those different terminologies, those 5 terminologies, it's all the XRP Ledger. And they're using different names so that the people can't figure out that this is all the XRP Ledger. So let's just read this real quick again. Project Mandala explores the feasibility of encoding jurisdiction-specific policy and regulatory requirements in a common protocol for cross-border use cases, such as foreign direct investments, borrowing, and payments. So it says that disparate policy and regulatory frameworks between different jurisdictions are amongst the chief obstacles to smooth and efficient cross-border payments. They contribute to the regulatory compliance burden across the payment chain, increase the time of cross-border transactions, and introduce uncertainties among stakeholders. By looking at these challenges, they already have them solved, guys, because RippleNet is AML-compliant, it's KYC-compliant, and it also has a global rule. RippleNet has a global rule book that all of the banks and fintechs that sign up to RippleNet, whether it's central bank, commercial bank, fintech company, money transfer company, they all agree to this rulebook, this global rulebook, right? And a lot of people don't realize that RippleNet has this. So again, RippleNet is AML compliant, KYC compliant, which is know your client. AML is anti-money laundering. So again, KYC is know your client, and it has that global rulebook that all of the banks agree to. Okay, so while Ripple was being sued in this bogus lawsuit, I won't even get into it, but while Ripple was being sued, supposedly sued, they were not worried. They were fully compliant. They were not worried at all. Just know that. So right here, it says, in doing so, it aims to address key challenges identified during Project Dunbar. So this project here, Project Mandala, is a successor, is working off the back of Project Dunbar. Because again, it says in doing so, this Project Mandala, it aims to address key challenges identified during Project Dunbar, which developed an experimental, of course, they say experimental, it's not experimental. Ripple has had a CBDC platform, a private CBDC platform that central banks can launch CBDCs on seamlessly, very easily launch a CBDC on the XRP Ledger. It's a carbon copy clone of the XRP Ledger, so it's a private CBDC ledger, which is a clone of the public XRP Ledger. And they've had that, well, they announced it in 2021, which is 4 years ago. It's right on their website. So they might have probably had it way before. If they're telling us about it in 2021, making it public, that they have a CBDC platform where central banks can launch their CBDCs on Ripple, on the XRP Ledger, then they obviously had it way before, in my opinion. I'm quite certain of that. So Project Dunbar, which developed an experimental multiple central bank digital currency MCBDC platform. Isn't that interesting? The envisioned compliance by design architecture will. Again, they're lying to you. Will enable a more efficient cross-border transfer of any digital assets, including CBDCs and tokenized deposit. It could also serve as the foundational compliance layer for legacy and nascent wholesale and retail payment systems. Okay, so that gives you a general idea about what Project Mandala is about. So it's a successor of Project Dunbar. All right. So piggybacking. I don't know if you say that back home, but we call it piggybacking. It's working on the back of Project Dunbar. And there's 2 central banks here that were involved in Project Dunbar as well. It was the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Monetary Authority of Singapore were both involved in Project Dunbar. I can't remember, but the other 2 were not. It was 2 other central banks that were involved. And we're going to look at that. So in the bottom here, so it talks about Project Mandala has demonstrated that regulatory compliance can be embedded in cross-border payment. No, you don't say. You don't say. You mean like what RippleNet has been doing for like 4 or 5 years now, 7 years? You don't say. It developed a compliance by design decentralized system. So I took this paragraph right here and I asked Grok 3 here, told Grok, I said, tell me the similarities between RippleNet, Ripple, and the XRP Ledger and anything else that has to do with Ripple. Just this paragraph alone, just this paragraph, only this paragraph. Tell me about this paragraph, about Project Mandala compared to Ripple. And this is what the AI tells me. RippleNet, Ripple, and the XRP Ledger share similarities. Make it bigger for you. RippleNet, Ripple, and the XRP Ledger share several similarities with Project Mandala's approach to regulatory compliance and cross-border payments, regulatory compliance integration. Mandala RippleNet embeds compliance within its transaction protocol. Its X-current component includes a messenger function that facilitates the exchange of KYC and AML data. Isn't that interesting? RippleNet does exactly what Mandala does, or so supposedly trying to do, right? It's not trying to do it. It's doing it. It's using RippleNet. My goodness. And so by facilitating the exchange of KYC and AML data, X-current ensures compliance checks are completed before transactions proceed. Decentralized architecture. Both systems utilize decentralized networks. RippleNet operates on the XRP Ledger, decentralized blockchain that validates transactions in a real time without intermediaries, similar to Mandala's decentralized system connecting financial institutions and central banks. Decentralized architecture of the XRP Ledger and RippleNet are identical to Mandala's decentralized architecture. Same for the regulatory compliance. Integration of Mandala is identical to RippleNet. Isn't that interesting? Streamline cross-border payments. RippleNet and Mandala aim to enhance cross-border payment efficiency. RippleNet uses XRP as a bridge currency for fast, low-cost settlements. Kin, meaning similar or identical to Mandala's goal of streamlining payments through automated compliance. Fourth similarity that Mandala has with the XRP Ledger and RippleNet. Compliance, right here, compliance verification with privacy. RippleNet's validator and ILP, that's the interledger protocol, ensure transaction legitimacy, while maintaining data integrity comparable to Mandela's proof engine that generates compliance proof without exposing sensitive customer data. So in Project Mandala, instead of describing the ILP in RippleNet's validator, they call it a proof engine. So they call it Mandala Proof Engine. But it's identical to RippleNet validator and the IAP ledger. Isn't that interesting? Wow, it's very interesting how they always change the name. Like, they use words, but when you put in the AI, or if you've done enough research, literally it's identical to Ripple or XRP, RippleNet, the XRP ledger. Every time. Every time. Unbelievable. So number 5, AML and KYC focus right here. Both systems prioritize AML and KYC compliance. RippleNet's X-Current is designed to fit within banks' existing AML KYC frameworks and partnerships like CoinFirm enhance AML compliance, mirroring Mandela's embedded compliance checks. Wow. So the AML and the KYC that RippleNet has literally mirrors Mandela's embedded compliance checks. Isn't it interesting? It's unbelievable, all the coincidence. But wait, guys, it gets better. Because this project, they say that literally it's the successor of Project Dunbar, like I said. And I'm going to show you my video that I created on Dunbar, where I prove 1,000,000% that Project Dunbar is the XRP ledger. I prove in like 100 different angles and with 1,000,000,000% certain that Project Dunbar is the XRP ledger. So you don't want to miss this video, guys. So those are the 5 similarities. Well, here in this document, this is a PDF for the BIS Streamlining Cross-Border Transaction Compliance, Project Mandala. When you type in the word common up here, we're going to see what it says, where it finds a word. So common third party, let's just see here. Just one sec here. Here it says Project Mandala tests the hypothesis, which is complete BS. It's not a hypothetical. They always say that embedding policy measures into a common protocol. Same like that common platform, right? It's a common protocol. So it means it's the same protocol. They're using the same protocol, my friend, which is the XRP ledger. And I'm going to prove this. So here it says that the payment systems in the long term, Mandala's approach could enable, again, it's not could, it's will enable seamless interoperability across regional payment systems. What does the Interledger protocol do? The Interledger protocol is a very specialized protocol to interconnect payment systems and contributing to a more unified and efficient global financial market infrastructure. Isn't that interesting? This nice, beautiful word here, unified. So a unified and efficient global financial market infrastructure, like a unified ledger, right? Like a unified ledger. As I was explaining, this is a successor of Project Dunbar. So I'm going to show the video now, my video that I did just maybe 3-4 days ago of Project Dunbar, where I really show clearly, like I said, that it's the XRP. All right, so we're going to watch that full video. For you guys that have watched it already, I do apologize. 90% or 80% of people that are landing on my YouTube channel, landing on this video, have not watched my previous video. Statistics show that 80% of the people that watch a video on your channel are actually watching your videos for the first time. So they're people who are first time watching your channel. So that's why I got to show this. And because I absolutely need to show this to prove that Project Mandala is definitely the XRP. So let's look at Project Dunbar, which Project Mandala is the successor of. And like I said, Project Mandala is working off from Project Dunbar. So Project Dunbar here, international settlement using multi-CBDCs. We're hearing that multi-CBDC platform again. Here, Project Dunbar explores how a common platform for multiple CBDC, multiple central bank digital currencies, it's exact same description as Enbridge, and literally the exact same description as Agora, Project Agora. Isn't that interesting? Could enable cheaper, faster, and safer cross-border payments. So they're talking about a common platform for multi-CBDCs. So that's a multi-central bank digital currency platform for cheaper, faster, safer cross-border payments. Where have we heard that 100 million times? So here the document mentions the word common 57 times, and it mentions the word common platform 25 times. We'll go through a few of them. So multi-CBDC common platforms could make cross-border payments cheaper, safer, faster, and see them approach the efficiency of domestic payment systems. You don't say. So in Project Dunbar is a collaboration between the Bank for International Settlements, the Innovation Hub Singapore Center, the Reserve Bank of Australia, Central Bank of Malaysia, the Monetary Authority of Singapore, which is Central Bank for Singapore, and the South African Reserve Bank to explore how a common platform isn't that interesting. I'm going to show you what that common platform is in a minute, my friends. I'm going to show you all the evidence that this is the XRP Ledger. So bear with me. You really don't want to miss this one. To explore how a common platform for multi-CBDCs, a same thing, again, here, a common platform. Let's go through it real quick. So here again, how a common platform, again, a common platform for cross-border, it's common platform, 25 times. It talks about a common platform for CBDCs. And it generally says a multi-CBDC platform. This is a multi-CBDC common platform. So again, it mentioned 25 times. So now I've typed in here in the document, shared platform. This is the original document for Project Dunbar from the BIS. This is right on the BIS website. This is the official document, the report. So 16 times it mentions a shared platform. We're going to go through a few of them. Don't miss this one, my friend. Do not miss this one. If you're an XRP holder or you're thinking about holding XRP, not financial advice, but you do not want to miss this video, my friends. So shared platform, managing a multi-central bank shared platform. A shared platform implies a level of universality with features and capabilities that are common and available to all participants. Equal participants, a shared platform. So shared platform. So it talks about DLT here. So a multi-CBDC common platform infrastructure includes the servers, networks, and DLT platform. So this is a DLT. This is a ledger. This is a shared ledger. When they say shared platform, technically it's a shared distributed ledger that enables central banks to communicate with each other on a shared platform. Again, it's going to mention it over and over. A shared platform. So sometimes they'll call it a shared CBDC platform or a multi-CBDC platform. They'll call it a shared platform, a unified ledgers. Sometimes they'll say shared ledger. And then they used to say regulated internal value, but they changed the name real quick. They called it the regulated liability network for the UK. But in the US, they call it the regulated settlement network. It's all the same thing. It's that unified ledger, that shared ledger. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. So this is a document here, and this talks about this is the regulated liability network. This is right on their website. This is literally the regulatedliabilitynetwork.org. And when you look for regulated internal value, right here, it talks about the original concept of the regulated internal value. I'm going somewhere, guys. Bear with me because you really don't want to miss this. So right here, it talks about a document that I showed you where the original concept of the regulated liability network, let me zoom that a bit for you for a minute. Right here, origin of the regulated liability network concept, it was called the regulated internal value. And I've shown you this document. The first time Citibank ever mentioned the regulated liability network, they actually called it the regulated internet of value. But again, they changed the name because they say, hey, we can't call it the internal value. Everybody knows XRP is the internal value. Because Ripple has been preaching for 7 or 8 years, we are building the internal value. We're building the internal value, Ripple is the internal value. So that's why they cannot say internal value in all of these different CBDC documents and in their seminars, because everybody's going to know this is the XRP Ledger. Now, there's a podcast right here, but it's like a 1-hour podcast. And the name of the podcast was called Regulated Liabilities and the Internet of Value Podcast. Isn't that interesting? So here, a shared ledger, right? Because Gilbert Verdian said we partnered with R3, who's bringing in the shared ledger, as in one shared ledger. When Gilbert Verdian of Quant was talking about the regulated liability network, he said they partnered with R3, who was bringing in the shared ledger. So it's mentioned here, if you look on top here, 10 times it mentions a shared ledger. A shared ledger can perform finality of settlement among participants. So it's mentioned 10 times a shared ledger would operate a shared ledger for the recording, transfer, and settlement of RLN. Remember, this used to be called the regulated internal value, my friends. So it mentions 10 times the a shared ledger and the shared ledger, as in one, is mentioned 3 times. If you look here, I'm not sure if you can see that. So it's 3 times. So look at this here. Talks about central banks sending payments from sub A, sub B, so on and so forth. Then here it says, please note that these transactions are executed atomically on the shared ledger. This is so that the customer payment flow and the balance sheet updates on the branches. So it's the shared ledger, multi-bank basis, through the participation of multiple central banks in the regulated liability network scheme. Technically, it should say multiple participation of multiple central banks in the regulated Internet of Value scheme. Okay, so this is Ripple's website. I've shown this before. I want to show again for people who haven't seen it, my friends here. So Ripple pilots a private ledger for central banks launching CBDCs. This is in 2021, guys. This is 4 years ago that Ripple had a platform to launch CBDCs. My understanding is Ripple is the only blockchain company that has a platform to launch CBDCs seamlessly, very easily. Ripple is the only one, as my understanding. So Ripple is piloting a private version of the public open source XRP Ledger that provides central banks a secure, controlled, and flexible solution for issuance and management of digital currencies. So just want you to know, Ripple has a CBDC platform, a private central bank digital currency platform that central banks can launch their CBDCs. But what I really want to show you is at the bottom, again, this is 2001, my friends. And at bottom here, Ripple says, and we're just getting started. We are also working on a fresh approach where central banks will be able to join a network of CBDC ledgers that enables full settlement interoperability while allowing each member to retain their monetary and technological independence. We believe that this will be a game changer for central banks and are excited to release more details on how it works very soon. This is in 2001. Ripple was saying that they were just starting. Let me read that again. We are also working on a fresh approach where central banks will be able to join a network of CBDC ledgers. So this is a multi-CBDC. This is MCBDC. This is a common CBDC platform because it's a network of CBDC ledgers that Ripple was launching in 2021. If they're telling you in 2021, they probably already had it in like 2018 or 2017. My goodness sakes, they're always like 10 years ahead of what they tell you. So again, this is a network of CBDC. This is your common platform, my friend. This is your common CBDC platform. This is your multi-CBDC platform. This is your MCBDC that you're seeing in Project Agora, in Project Enbridge, in Project Dunbar. You're also seeing mentions of that in Project Mariana. Numerous different CBDC projects are always talking about a common CBDC platform, like I said, a multi-CBDC and so on. Now, going back to this document here, Project Dunbar, I showed you how it mentioned like a common CBDC platform like 56 times or something like that. Keep that in mind. And guys, I'm fully aware that it's talking about R3 here and Quorum in Project Dunbar. It's really putting a focus on Quorum and R3, but I don't care how they phrase it, what they say. There's no way. This has to be the XRP Ledger because the Ethereum network and Quorum doesn't have a multi-CBDC platform. It doesn't have the XRP Ledger for settlement. It doesn't have the liquidity. It doesn't have RippleNet because you need the network as well. It doesn't have everything the XRP Ledger has. So if they're talking about Quorum in this document and they're talking about R3 Corda, the shared ledger is the XRP Ledger, and Quorum has to be somehow interconnected into XRP Ledger. If Quorum is involved in this project, which they're saying it is, it definitely has to be the XRP Ledger that they're using. There is no ands, ifs, or buts here. That's what it is. There is no other platform like the XRP Ledger for CBDCs and multi-CBDCs. Guys, I'm going to show a clip here of a video. Many of you have watched it already, but it's very important, like I said, to establish this for anybody that's watching my videos for the first time. Because, like I said, 80% of people land on my YouTube videos. It's the first time them watching, so they likely have not seen this. And again, it doesn't hurt for you to see it again. But here in this video that I'm going to show you a clip, I prove 100% that the shared ledger, regulated liability network, the regulated settlement network, the unified ledger, and the Finternet are all the same thing. It's all the XRP Ledger, but the central bankers are using these different names, like I said earlier, to confuse everyone so that we can't really pinpoint, that we can't really figure out that, oh, this is all the XRP Ledger. So in this video, I'm going to show you 100 million% proof that it's all the same thing. It's all the XRP Ledger. And I was the first one in the community to really establish that and show that. And so I'm very happy to share this with you again. So right here, Gilbert Verdian, when he's talking about the regulated liability network, he says, we also partnered with R3, who is bringing in the shared ledger where all of the tokenized assets will reside. So we just finished saying that they provide the programmability, interoperability, and the banking grade API for the project. And now he continues to talk.
We're also partnering with R3 on the project, which are bringing in the shared ledger where all the tokenized assets will reside.
So Quant is partnering with R3, who's bringing the shared ledger where all of the tokenized assets reside. Tony McLaughlin from Citibank said that when he was talking about the regulated liability network, City Digital Dispatch, episode 1, regulated liability network, this was about maybe 6 weeks ago. He was talking with Ryan Rugg, head of digital assets for Treasury and Trade for Citi. This is where he talks about 25,000 data centers, 25,000 databases, separate islands of data. He's talking about banks, how they'll have different data centers. And shared ledger and blockchain, you've got a common database, essentially. So the question is there a possibility to migrate the traditional banking system? So take same kinds of institution, take the central banks, commercial banks, and fintechs and migrate them onto a shared ledger. What did Gilbert Verdian said? He said, the shared ledger. We're partnering with R3. They're bringing in the shared ledger. And here he says, and that's what the regulated liability network essentially is, the RLNs. So now we know that the shared ledger and the regulated liability network is exactly the same thing. So this is a document from Deutsche Bundesbank in July 2023. In this document, they're going to admit that the regulated liability network, when it was originally mentioned by Citi, it was actually called the regulated Internet of Value. Let's start at the beginning. In essence, the regulated liability network is an interoperable network of commercial banks and central bank liabilities. The aim of the infrastructure is to improve national and international payments by using distributed ledger technology. The concept originates in the article entitled The Regulated Internet of Value, published by Citigroup in 2021. They call it the Regulated Internet of Value, but they stopped saying that. They said, we can't call it the Regulated Internet of Value because everybody's going to know that's XRP Ledger. That's Ripple and the XRP Ledger. So we can't call it that. So then they started calling it the Regulated Liability Network. And for the US, they call it the Regulated Settlement Network. Or they say shared ledger technology or unified ledger, and they're changing names every time so that we can't figure out what the heck it is. Oh, is XRP Ledger involved? Is it Quant? So bear with me. So watch right here. The Bank for International Settlements, BIS, describes the idea of a common programmable platform on which tokenized forms of money circulate as holding great promise. Instead of regulated liability network, instead of RLN, the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, uses the term unified ledger. Let me say that again. Instead of regulated liability network, the Bank for International Settlement uses the term unified ledger. Hence, stresses the importance of governance of a common platform in which the central bank would have to play an important role in a position paper. So now, this document is proving that the BIS calls the regulated liability network, they call it the unified ledger. So now we've got confirmation, if you've been following carefully here, the shared ledger, Gilbert Verdian said they partnered with R3, who's bringing the shared ledger. Tony McLaughlin confirmed that the shared ledger and the regulated liability network is the same thing. I showed you a document saying that the regulated liability network and the regulated Internet of Value, technically the Internet of Value, is the same thing, which Ripple built the Internet of Value. We know it's Ripple. So shared ledger, regulated liability network, and the Internet of Value, call it the regulated Internet of Value, all the same thing. Now I've just showed you in this document right here that the unified ledger and the regulated liability network is the same thing as well. So all four are the same. Shared ledger, regulated liability network, regulated Internet of Value, and the unified ledger are all the same thing. Got it? Got it, guys? Good? Keep watching, my friends. All right, so in this document here, it says right here in blue, the regulated liability network, it's a bit cut off there, the way that it was copied. I'm not sure why, but the regulated liability network could bring several benefits. For example, the RLN may offer potential for a new global settlement infrastructure based on regulated issuers and instruments that could support both domestic and cross-border use cases. Isn't that interesting? Cross-border use cases. Where did we hear that 1 trillion times? XRP Ledger, right? Ripple. By including central bank money from multiple jurisdictions, it has the potential to create a global real-time gross settlement. So the regulated liability network has the potential to create a global real-time gross settlement capability. Global real-time gross settlement. Global RTGS. So now we know that the shared ledger, regulated liability network, regulated Internet of Values, technically the Internet of Value, the unified ledger, and the global real-time gross settlement, the global RTGS, are all the same thing. Here in this document, when it's saying that it has the potential to create a global real-time gross settlement, has the potential, they're lying to you here. It's not just potential. It is creating it. It's already created. But as I told you before, these guys always talk as if it's theoretical. It's a theory. It's a concept. We're testing it. We're going to see if it could work. The global real-time gross settlement system was created years ago. They've been planning it for almost 20 years. I'm going to show you a document here. So it's already, according to timelines that we've seen from the Hyperledger Foundation, it's already fully laid out right now as we speak. 2025, it's laid out. So when they're saying it could, they're lying to you here. It's all they know how to do, these guys, is lie and deceive. It's all they know how to do, the central bankers. So this is a document I showed you before. This came from the Hyperledger Foundation. It is now called the Linux Foundation Decentralized Trust. It's the LF Decentralized Trust is what it's called now. This document surfaced about 8 years ago, give or take. It's almost impossible to find it now. So I do apologize if the document is chopped up there. It's just because I had to merge all the screenshots that I had taken from this document because I can't find it anymore. So again, this is pretty much the most powerful consortium in the world involving all the central banks, commercial bank, tech companies, fintechs, corporations, and on. And now it's called the Decentralized Trust. This is a document that came out. It was specifically referring R3, Ripple, and the XRP Ledger and the Interledger Protocol. So it was Ripple, R3, and the Interledger Protocol were the main players, technically the main players in building this Internet of Value. So ILP, and remember, like I talked in my other videos, when we see the documents coming from the BIS, the Bank for International Settlements, we always see that it's the Interledger Protocol that's connecting the unified ledgers. But for now, I just want to jump right here so we don't lose our train of thought here. So this document showed that the global RTGS, remember how I told you this document, the BIS was saying that the regulated liability network could become the global real-time gross settlement. What do you have here? The global RTGS is the XRP ledger right here. And you have the Interledger Protocol, ILP. So the central banks, the RTGS system, all the central banks and the commercial banks, local payments, are connected to the global RTGS, which is the XRP ledger. They're connected via the Interledger Protocol, ILP, 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 ILP. And at the bottom here, it says that the Interledger Protocol will enable financial institutions and central banks to make their existing infrastructure and processes interoperable with other currencies, asset classes, and the XRP ledger, the global liquidity marketplace, and the global decentralized RTGS. So right here, this document is showing clearly that the XRP ledger is the RTGS. And the document I just showed you said that the regulated liability network could become the global RTGS, which is the XRP ledger. So now we know that the shared ledger, Gilbert Verdian said they partnered with R3 for the shared ledger, where all of the tokenized assets will reside. We know that the shared ledger, the RLN is the same thing because Tony McLaughlin said that. Then we know that it's also called the regulated Internet of Value. And we also know that the BIS, when they talk about the regulated liability network or the shared ledger or Internet of Value, they call it the unified ledger. We have another document. It also says that the BIS also says that the regulated liability network or the unified ledger, same thing, has the potential to become a global RTGS. And here I have a document showing that the XRP ledger is the global RTGS. And let me show you another document. So this document from the BIS, we always see this document everywhere, which is the FinterNet, financial internet. They're calling the FinterNet now because they don't want to say Internet of Value. So instead of saying Internet of Value, everybody knows it's Ripple, they call it the FinterNet, financial internet, Internet of Value, financial value, financial Internet of Value. They call it the FinterNet. You see here, they call it Unified Interledger Protocol now, like I said. It's the Interledger Protocol. There is no other Interledger Protocol. There's only one, and it's Ripple, the company who built the Interledger Protocol. So they can call it the FART Interledger Protocol. They can call it the PP Interledger Protocol. They call it whatever the heck they want to try to deceive us. So there's only one Interledger Protocol. It's Ripple that built it. The XRP Ledger is built on top of the Interledger protocol, and the XRP Ledger has a decentralized exchange built on top of the XRP Ledger. Sorry, I said that very quickly. Sorry. The Interledger protocol was built by Ripple. The XRP Ledger is built on top of the Interledger protocol. So that's why you're seeing here the unified ledger being connected via the Interledger protocol. So this is a better document. I should have showed you this one instead. So the Interledger protocol is connecting Unified Ledger 1 to Unified Ledger 2. Unified Ledger 1, Unified Ledger 2. Because, as I explained before, the XRP Ledger has numerous private ledgers. Central banks are building their central bank digital currencies on private ledgers of the XRP Ledger. So they're like a carbon copy clone of the XRP Ledger. It has the same features as the XRP Ledger, except it's a private ledger. I used to say sidechains, but that's not the proper terminology. I shouldn't call it a sidechain. It's technically a private ledger. Some people would say it's still a sidechain, but I think that the exact proper terminology is to say it's a private ledger, because sidechains are slightly different. And we see that from the interviews from Ripple. I showed that in other video, but that's why you see the Interledger protocol connecting Unified Ledger 1 to Unified Ledger 2. And right here, again, you're seeing what? You're seeing this would be a Unified Ledger here. So this would be the main Unified Ledger, the XRP Ledger. And then you would have ILP here, ILP, and you have Central Bank, RTGS system, Bank of Japan, Target 2, Fedwire, which is the US. These are the central banks here, and they're RTGS systems, central banks. So these are private ledgers, private ledgers, private ledger, private ledger. These are Unified Ledger, and this is the Interledger protocol connecting to Unified Ledger. So private ledgers or shared ledger, you could call it private ledgers, Unified Ledgers, because again, they're carbon copy clone of the XRP Ledger. Okay, so now I've proven for anybody that was new to my channel that the shared ledger, Unified Ledger, it's all the same thing, like I said there. Now let's go back to another document here. This is the Reserve Bank of Australia. So this is one of 4 central banks that are part of Project Dunbar. So Project Dunbar here. So this, originally we read it on the BIS website, BIS document. And now we're looking at it here. This is the Reserve Bank of Australia, Central Bank for Australia. And again, it's going to talk about Project Dunbar developing 2 prototypes for a shared platform that could enable international settlements using digital currencies issued by multiple central banks. So international settlements using multiple central banks on a shared platform. What a coincidence, right? It's that shared platform again. So this is a different media release, slightly different. This is Reserve Bank. Let me see here the dates here. This was 2022. In March 2022. This one was September 2021. Same thing, was talking about Project Dunbar, talking about shared ledger. And Ripple is the only distributed ledger company, the only blockchain company on the cross-border payments task force for the BIS. This is the BIS. This is the Committee on Payment and Markets Infrastructure. Gilbert Verdian said they want to create a new financial market infrastructure. And here's the Committee on Payments and Markets Infrastructures, this cross-border payments interoperability, so this cross-border task force, the only blockchain company on this committee for the BIS. This is the same organization that has Project Dunbar and Project Agora and Project Enbridge and so on, which describes the same thing. It all describes technically this unified ledger, shared ledger, this XRP ledger. Ripple is the only company right here. Ripple. It's the only blockchain company. Look, I'll go through it. You can see. It's the only blockchain company on the BIS cross-border task force. Oh my goodness, isn't that interesting? And all of these platforms, so for example, Dunbar, it's about cross-border. It's a multi-CBDC platform or a common platform or a shared platform that does cross-border. Wow. There's what, 100 million coincidences? Like, how many angles did I prove it that this is the XRP Ledger? Guys, like, it's not Bitcoin. I have nothing against it. It's what it is, but it's not Bitcoin. It's not Ethereum. It's not Solana. It's the XRP Ledger. So I don't know the naysayers. I'm not sure. Maybe they haven't researched more than 5 seconds in regards to the XRP Ledger. I don't know. I don't know how anybody can say that XRP is a scam token. Like, it's a crap coin. It's going to go to zero. That's, oh my goodness. Anyways. So guys, that's the general idea of Project Dunbar. Definitely the XRP Ledger, and R3 is involved. Again, it's a shared ledger. All right, guys. So that is Project Dunbar. Like I said, it's predecessor of Project Mandala. And as you can see, it's obviously the XRP Ledger. So I have a favor to ask you guys. If you could do me a big favor. So the podcast aired with Paul Barron, but it was not on YouTube. So I do apologize for that. I thought it was going to be aired on YouTube, and it was only aired on X. So on the X platform, if you go on, I will post it in my messages and in the actual description of this video. I will post the link. But if you could go on Paul Barron's profile and definitely follow him if you're not following him, because this is like pretty much the #1 crypto media network in the world, the most trusted for sure, and #1 in the USA. You definitely want to follow him. I was on his podcast yesterday. I was the first person on the XRP podcast that Paul Barron launched on the platform. And so I really thank you guys for all your support and getting me there. I'm really, really honored. So I really appreciate your support, guys. It never would have happened without you guys. But I would love to go again, obviously, and I would definitely like to go on his YouTube channel. So if you go on his profile here at Paul Barron and you scroll down, you will see where he posted this morning. So it's right here, video update exploring how Ripple is quietly taking over the global finance. This is actually the podcast I did with him. It was aired this morning right here. And I definitely want to go check that out. And please leave a comment, guys, because we have some people, obviously, that hate XRP, and they're attacking him just for putting me on there and talking about XRP. So we've got, obviously, a lot of good comments too, but we need some help. Please go on there. Please let him know what you think. Let him know if you think he should have me again sometime. If you think he should have me again sometime, please let him know why he should have me. All right, because I didn't share even 0.0001% of what I would have liked to be able to share with him, just constraint of time. I'm used to doing deep dives, but I was so honored to be on that. It's unbelievable. Again, sometime, but I would love to be on his YouTube channel as well. But yes, please go and comment, guys. Give us a big like, follow him, show us some love, and let him know if you'd like to have me again. And also, why and so on. But yeah, show him some love. And also right here, guys, he's also in this podcast here. After you've done that, well, actually, you can go here. And he's asking again here who the XRP army wants to have on next podcast. So he's saying deployment, XRP army, list of projects or people you want on the XRP podcast. You are now the executive producers, biggest podcast in the universe. So he's going to grow his fan base on Twitter here. He's doing exclusive XRP podcasts. And again, my video here below. So go comment on this one as well, please. And let them know what you think. And also, but please, if you have a minute, go definitely comment on this one, guys, because we're getting a bit of haters here, of course. They don't want people to know XRP, the truth about XRP. And they still think that coin is the greatest thing since sliced bread. So yeah, need your help if you could, like you helped me last time. Appreciate it a lot. So thanks again for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And I'm going to try to put out some more content soon. Thanks again, and wishing a great day, great evening, great night, wherever you are. And God bless you so much. Bye for now.